Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
Office Bloke Daz.
Together we are the Deaf Office Blokes.
Pardon?
Deaf? What?
What do you say?
I don't know. If you want to win this t-shirt, how do people win that t-shirt, Mike?
Don't know really.
You could go to our Just Stop Oil video where they're getting wrecked, and comment JFO.
And be subscribed.
I'll help you out, mate.
That's how you do it.
I'll carry you, don't you worry.
Seamless
Excellent.
intro
Shoulders
today.
are killing right there.
Yeah, always. Yeah. Right then, what's the highest point in each state of the USA?
No idea.
Don't know.
Well,
Don't know where the highest point would be.
What are
One of
the
the
big-
mountains, wouldn't it?
What are the big mountains?
Oh, I guess the Rockies would be up there, wouldn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
Places in like Washington State, I imagine, up that way.
I suppose the weird ones are going to be the pretty flat states. What's the highest point in a state that's just...
Yeah, flat.
Let's check it
Yeah, I
out.
guess so.
What's the highest point in each state of the USA? Go for it.
The United States is a country of vast diversity, with just about every landscape
Denver
and climate represented in its
is known as
50
Mile
states.
High City,
Some
isn't it?
states,
Is
like
it?
Kansas, have a reputation for being flatter than a pancake, which is true, by the way, but so is every other state by the same comparison. Some places, like Colorado, are famous for being mountainous wonderlands. It's become a noteworthy travel bucket list for ambitious sightseers to visit the highest point in every state. So, what are these places, and where are they found? Let's go through each state's highest point, in order from lowest to highest elevation. Florida holds the title of the lowest high point of any state, found at Britton Hill. At only 345 feet above sea level, it is just a small hill off the side of a small road. Delaware's highest point, the Ebright Azimuth, is just 448 feet above sea level. It's also just a few feet away from the state line with Pennsylvania in a grassy field among the Wilmington suburbs. There's really nothing of interest here. At least Florida's high point makes a big deal of itself. This is just a vacant lot. Over in Louisiana, another low-lying coastal state, the highest point can be found in the northern part of the state, Driskill Mountain. At 535 feet, it's really just a hill set among some other rather hard-to-notice hills in the forest. Neighboring Mississippi has a similar high point, Woodall Mountain, with an elevation of 807 feet. Again, it's just one hill of many found in the very far northeast corner of the state, near the Tennessee River.
Don't you have to be a certain height to be classified as a mountain?
I think you do, yeah. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it is. But
No, I don't know.
think,
Don't know what the threshold is.
Yeah.
I don't even know. What's the highest peak in Britain? Is it Ben Nevis?
Ben Nevis, yeah. I think Snowdonia
Yeah.
is second.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
And Scaffold Peak, is it?
Snowdonia,
Scaffold
Wales, isn't
Peak.
it? Scarfell Pike
Yeah.
in Lake District, I think, is probably one in
Yeah.
England, isn't it? I think.
I think we're about 100 metres above sea level here. Aren't we?
Yeah, well, I've no idea. It's never even occurred to me, to
No.
be honest.
I'm fairly
Yeah,
certain
not
we
sure.
are.
Don't know.
Really? Right.
Returning to the Atlantic coast, Rhode Island has Jeremoth Hill, an 811-foot hill about a mile from the border with Connecticut. Not much to see here once again, as it's barely noticeable in the surroundings. The first inland state to make the list is my home state, Illinois. Despite being notoriously flat, Illinois does have some hills in the northwest and southeast. Charles Mound, the highest of these, is the first high point on the list with over 1,000 feet in elevation. At 1,235 feet, Charles Mound is on private farmland bordering Wisconsin in the far northwest part of the state. Next door neighbor Indiana has a very similar high point, Hoosier Hill, just a couple miles from the Ohio border. It too is on private property, and it also has a very similar elevation to Charles Mound at 1,257 feet. We head one state over again to Ohio and its highest point, Campbell Hill. This one is found in the town of Bellefontaine with an elevation of 1,549 feet and is home to the aptly named Ohio High Point Career Center, which is a technical school for adults.
I've been to a place in Vermont called Ball Mountain.
Ball Mountain.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I wonder if that's going to be on the list.
Maybe.
I wonder if that's the highest point in Vermont.
Vermont, was it?
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
It's very much got roadside attraction vibes so far, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like the world's biggest elastic band ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Continuing this string of Midwestern states is Iowa, which is home to Hawkeye Point. At 1,670 feet, it's a couple miles from the Minnesota border in the northwest of the state, and it features a very cool mosaic and signs pointing to the other
That's a bit more
49
like it.
state high points. Missouri brings us the first high point that is actually a mountain of sorts, Tom Sauk Mountain. At 1,772 feet, it's not that tall, but it is found in the St. Francis Mountains of the Mark Twain National Forest. We return once again to the coast with New Jersey's high point, named High Point. Great job, New Jersey. Always
Very
bringing
creative.
innovation to the table. At 1,803 feet, High Point is found within High Point State Park in the far northwestern corner of the state. It's the most grandiose of the high points we've seen so far, as it features a 220-foot tall obelisk on its top. It's back to the Midwest with my friendly neighbors to the north, Wisconsin. Their high point, Timms Hill, is at 1,951 feet in elevation and is found in the hilly wilderness of northern Wisconsin. It has an observation tower at the top. Heading even further north to the UP, Michigan's highest point is not too dissimilar to Wisconsin's. Mount Arvin is at an elevation of 1,979 feet and is part of the Huron Mountains. Across Lake Superior, in the far northeastern tip of Minnesota, is Eagle Mountain with an elevation of 2,301 feet. It's set among the rugged and beautiful hills of the Superior National Forest.
We're getting into actual nice scenery now, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's nice there, Minnesota, doesn't it?
It does really nice.
Nice parts of there. Oh, even like Michigan, places like that. All it's sort of like northern part of it. It's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really
Lovely
good.
places around there.
The beginning was just like, here's a little field in the
Here's a
middle of
hill.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the hill on the side of the road, like you said.
Yeah, someone's probably lying about it being the highest point because no one's going to check.
Yeah,
No one's asked.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
highest
but-
point. What should we call it?
High point.
Connecticut's high point is a rather interesting one, as it's located on the southern side of a mountain that reaches its true peak in Massachusetts of 2,454 feet. In Connecticut, the high point is at 2,379 feet and is located about 1,000 feet away from the tri-points of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York. In Alabama, Cheaha Mountain at 2,413 feet is the highest point in the state. It's part of the Talladega mountain range and appears to be much higher than it is due to its prominence. Arkansas, perhaps the first state of the video so far that's well known for having mountains, has its highest point at the 2,753-foot peak of Mount Magazine. Although it's very close to the Ouachita Mountains, it's technically a formation of the Arkansas River Valley instead, and is part of the Ozark National Forest. Similarly to Arkansas's mountainous fame, Pennsylvania is famous for the Appalachian Mountains, which are home to its high points of Mount Davis, located near the border with Maryland. Mount Davis comes in at 3,213 feet. Speaking of Maryland, its high point of Hoy Crest is next in line. At an elevation of 3,360 feet, it's found just barely across the border with West Virginia and is part of the Backbone
A lot of
Mountain
my border
Range.
areas, aren't they?
I was just thinking that.
Quite a few
Practically
that-
all of them
yeah,
are
around the
border.
border.
Yeah,
Yeah.
strange. I wonder why.
I mentioned Massachusetts a while back, and it makes its appearance now with Mount Greylock. Its elevation of 3,489 feet and location in the northwest corner of the state provides beautiful views of 5 states and is also home to the only taiga forest in the state. There's also a paved road to the top and a war memorial tower at the summit. North Dakota brings us the first high point of the American West, with White Butte. At 3,506 feet, it's set among the Badlands of western North Dakota and is on private property. South Carolina takes us back to the Appalachians. Its highest point, Sassafras Mountain, is split in two by the border with North Carolina in the Blue Ridge Mountains,
Right on the
and is
border.
at an
Yeah,
elevation
again.
of 3,560 feet. To reach the observation tower, which is on the South Carolina side,
Isn't that how they drew up borders years ago? They just went to the highest point
I'm just
and went,
thinking maybe
you
it's,
can have what's over there, I'll have what's
it's a
over
landmark, isn't it? So you can see
Yeah.
where it is as well. So maybe that's what they sort of went off.
here. It can't be a coincidence that they're all right on the border.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must have worked it out that way, I'm guessing.
visitors have to pass through North Carolina first if they stay on the path. In Kansas, we find Mount Sunflower, one of the more famous high points of the 50 states. It's not an actual mountain or hill or really anything, but just the end of the long gradient of elevation that is the state of Kansas, about half a mile from the Colorado border. Kentucky has an actual mountainous high point, of course, being Black Mountain. It's just over the border from Virginia in the eastern part of the state, and is easily accessible by road. It comes in at 4,145 feet. Vermont, the Green Mountain State, has Mount Mansfield to claim as its high
it's
point,
not Ball Mountain.
at an elevation
okay.
of 4,395 feet. While the summit is a destination for high pointers, the mountain is also a ski resort and features some of Vermont's last remaining alpine tundra from the Ice Ages. Moving back south to Georgia, we find Brasstown Bald, a
I want to live there.
4,784
Wow.
That's where I want to live. Sounds like a Brazilian strip club.
Oh,
dear.
What a name.
Isn't it?
It's
Brilliant.
definitely
Again, border town.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
That's where you want to live, if anywhere, right?
worth
Best
a visit,
name.
isn't
It's
it?
the best name I've ever heard of
I'm
any.
not sure you'd want to
like
live there. I think you'd want to frequent there, like
Yeah.
2-3 times a week.
Brasstown Bald. Love it.
4-foot high mountain peak found in the Chattahoochee National Forest of northern Georgia.
Even that.
There's
Chattahoochee.
apparently a shuttle service that runs to the top very frequently. How convenient. Ah, West Virginia, an almost heavenly state famous for its Blue Ridge Mountains and Shenandoah River. Its country roads will take you to the place you belong, Spruce Knob, its highest point at 4,860.
He's taking the piss now.
Yeah,
isn't he?
he is, yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
adding these names on now, isn't he?
Yeah. Turn left at Brasstown, next to Spruce Knob.
3 feet, found just outside the eastern panhandle. In Oklahoma, the highest point is found on Black Mesa, a mesa which just barely stretches into the panhandle coming out of New Mexico. At 4,975 feet, the area is a quite different landscape from what most people think of when they hear Oklahoma. It is a beautiful spot though. Up in Maine, there's Mount Katahdin at an elevation of 5,270 feet. This mountain is found quite centrally in the state of Maine, and is also noteworthy as the northern end of the Appalachian Trail. Close by, New York has Mount Marcy, found in the northern part of the state among the Adirondack High Peaks region. With an elevation of 5,343 feet, and not being too far away from Lake Placid, it's a very popular destination in the area and offers great views.
I went up there for a weekend away. It's an absolutely beautiful part of New York.
Really?
Nice,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, the Adirondacks and all around there, and Lake Placid.
It
Really
looks
nice.
stunning.
Yeah.
Back in the plains, Nebraska's high point is Panorama Point at 5,427 feet. Quite similarly to neighboring Kansas, Panorama Point has very little noticeable prominence and is found just over the border from Colorado and Wyoming, about a mile away from the tri-point of the 3 states. Virginia also has a high point that's not too far from a tri-point. Mount Rogers, at 5,729 feet, is evidence of former volcanic activity in the Appalachians hundreds of millions of years ago. It's in far South Virginia near the tri-point with Tennessee and North Carolina. New Hampshire brings us another famous high point, Mount Washington. Coming in at 6,288 feet, it's found in the northern half of the state and is well known for its extreme winds. The fastest wind speed ever recorded that wasn't found in a tornado or hurricane,
Wow.
231 miles per hour, was measured at the summit. That's insane.
Wow.
There's also a cog railroad and a vehicle road that climbs to the top. Tennessee is home to Clingman's Dome, a mountain shared with North Carolina in the Great Smoky Mountains. Atop the 6,643-foot summit is an observation deck, and the entire area is accessible by car. Not far away at all, North Carolina's Mount Mitchell lays claim to the highest point in the state at 6,684 feet. It's also the highest point found east of the Mississippi River, and is quite the popular destination as a result. From here on out, we'll be dealing with exclusively western states. Starting us off is South Dakota, with its 7,244-foot Black Elk Peak, found in the
Wow.
Black Hills, just a few miles away from Mount Rushmore.
That's rugged.
Texas makes its appearance with Guadalupe Peak, found in West Texas in the Guadalupe Mountain Range shared with New Mexico. At 8,751 feet, there's a hiking trail all the way to the top, with great views of the surrounding desert. Oregon's highest point is Mount Hood, a quite well-known peak towering nearby to Portland, and the first peak over 10,000 feet on the list, coming in at 11,249 feet. It's also part of the Cascade Volcanic Arc, and is a potentially active volcano itself. Arizona has Humphreys Peak as its highest point, just north of Flagstaff, in the San Francisco Peaks. It has an elevation of 12,633 feet, and offers great views of the surrounding area. Idaho's highest point is Bora Peak, situated in the center of the state among the Lost River Range. Its elevation is 12,668 feet and features quite a strenuous hike to the summit.
That's a bit more like it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you want to see when you see a
mountains.
mountain.
Yeah.
You want to see snow, don't you, and clouds.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't want to see green grass and shit, do you?
No, it's weird. Some of them are quite high up, but they're just pretty much flat, weren't they? Because of the elevation of the land in general. It's well strange.
Yeah, when you stay in, when I stayed in Banff in Canada, you've got the kind of high street, the main road that goes all the way through the town, and then at one end of it is like a mountain that.
Yeah,
And just hotels, shops and things, and then that just
Yeah.
looming over you. It's amazing.
Up in neighboring Montana is Granite Peak, found 10 miles north of the border with Wyoming. At 12,807 feet, it's widely regarded as the second most difficult high point to ascend, due to its weather conditions, tricky routing, and it usually takes at least 2 days to climb. Nevada's highest point is the 13,147-foot high Boundary Peak, aptly named as it lies just over the border with California. It's technically a sub-peak of California's taller Montgomery Peak. New Mexico's highest point is just barely taller at 13,167 feet. Found at the summit of Wheeler Peak, the area is very close to Taos, and skiing and hiking are popular activities. Over in Utah is Kings Peak at an elevation of 13,534 feet. It's found in the Uinta Mountains of northeastern Utah, not too far away from the Wyoming border. We're venturing away from the lower 48 for the first time with Hawaii's famous high point of Mauna Kea. At 13,803 feet above sea level, it's sometimes considered to be the tallest mountain in the world when measured from its true base at the seafloor. It's home to many astronomical observatories, is held sacred by native Hawaiians, and is famous around the world. Starting out the top 5 of this list is Wyoming's Gannett Peak, at an elevation of 13,809 feet. It straddles the Continental Divide and is part of the Wind River Range. Next up is Washington's world-famous Mount Rainier, the 14,411-foot high active volcano looming in the distance near the Seattle region. It's considered to be one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world and is a decade volcano, one of 16 volcanoes designated as the most important to study. Third place goes to Colorado's Mount Elbert, which is featured in this video's thumbnail. It comes in at an elevation of 14,440 feet. It's the highest point of the entire Rocky Mountain range.
Looks like a Coors advert, doesn't it? When
It
you see
does,
Coors,
actually,
when they do
yeah.
the Coors things, right?
Is it because it's Friday? You're thinking about beer?
Yeah. It's Friday.
What's Friday got to do with it?
Exactly.
Its high elevation, it's not a particularly difficult peak to ascend relatively, which earned it the nickname of the Gentle Giant. California and its Mount Whitney claim the second highest state high point with an elevation of 14,505 feet. It's also the tallest mountain of the entire lower 48 states, which leaves just one more state left.
Gotta be Alaska, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I never thought of that.
I couldn't name any of the mountains though.
Mount Alaska.
Mount Alaska.
Got to be.
Well, you've got to be something like, do you think it's near the Juneau area or the Anchorage area? Or further north?
I think further north.
Further north.
I mean, it's pure guesswork at this point, but it's going to have some like First Nations people's name, isn't it?
Well, like an American Indian type sounding name, you mean?
I think so.
Yeah.
Could do.
Left to claim first place.
I think I know this, just can't think of the name.
Alaska and its famous Denali take the spot
Denali,
of the
that's
highest
what I was
high
gonna say.
point of all 50 states, with an astounding...
When we paused it, I was going to say, do you think it's Mount Denali?
You
The
know,
Denali,
that's
before
been on-
before I paused it.
Right.
That's been on a video that we did not too long ago because I
Yeah,
remember thinking
correct.
that's an Indian sound, as in
Well,
India.
I remember it because it's
It
Chevy.
was on the quiz we did, I think, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah.
on the
I think it's on
quiz.
I think Chevy do a Chevy Denali, a truck, a massive truck.
Yeah.
It's their
Yeah,
biggest
rings a
one,
bell,
which is
that.
kind of like, obviously,
Well, it gets it from
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
because they have one called Tahoe as well.
elevation of 20,310 feet. It was known as Mount McKinley until 2015.
Yeah.
It's the third most prominent mountain on Earth and the tallest peak in North America. What an impressive place.
It's big,
Wow.
that.
And that concludes this look at every state's high point, from vacant lots.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah,
So it's,
that rings a bell as well,
Mount
Mount
McKinley.
McKinley.
Yeah, that's
course.
yeah. It's how we didn't even think of it to be.
Yeah.
It kind of put me off going through all the other ones, I think. But
Yeah.
before I pressed pause to say where do you think it's going to be, I'm thinking Denali's probably going to be number one.
Yeah.
And then when I pressed it, forgot all about it. But to be fair, I didn't know it was in Alaska.
Right.
It was definitely on that quiz.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you say.
well, yeah.
It was
Rings a
definitely
bell
a
now.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big old mountain as well.
That seemed good information.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I like that.
It is just weird that so many of them are on the border, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Practically all of them.
Yeah.
Like it must be a focal point for making the borders. Must think
Yeah.
there's a big mountain there, right? You can have that bit over there. We'll have that bit over there.
I suppose the borders were probably drawn up long before people were flying. So it's like you've got to get to the highest point just to see what there is and be able to try and make a map somehow.
Maybe.
I wonder if it's something to do with the defence mechanism as well, of like you have to go over the mountain to get to the other place.
Yeah,
or over the highest peak.
Yeah, good shout. Probably something like that.
Or just go round it.
Yeah, but then you can catch you coming round it, can't you? If you go over the top, it's hard for them to see you coming up the other side. Boo.
Both meet at the top, and it's like, I was going to invade you as well, but you're bloody
all stood there waiting for you.
Damn.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.